Hello, everyone, and welcome to another webinar in the Dexory series, where we have great conversations about the power of data across the supply chain with experts in logistics. My name is Awana Jinga, and I'm co-founder and CCO of Dexory. And I'm thrilled to be joined today by Maria Torren-March, Warehousing and Logistics Strategy Director at Iron Mountain. Thank you so much for joining us, Maria.
Good morning, and a pleasure to be here.
Before we begin, just a reminder that you can ask us any questions, send us any comments. There is one of our colleagues in the background answering. So if you just look for the Q&A section on your screen, please post those in and we'll come back to you as soon as possible. Perfect. So let's get going. I think in a nutshell, today we'll spend about 30 minutes to discuss challenges of running efficient warehouse operations and how automation can help overcome them. But not just simply overcome them, but just do that in a manner that brings various other benefits and quick returns of investments across the entire warehouse space and also across the business. And while automation in general is known for long return of investment cycles, we will touch on how Iron Mountain has been working with Dexory to be able to bring the Dexory solution to the warehousing footprint of Iron Mountain in the UK in a very quick, fast manner, and then also be able to see that return of investment across the board. So Maria is here today to kind of talk to us and kind of share her experience, not just about obviously kind of our work together, but also the wider kind of challenges and kind of interesting solutions that Iron Mountain is taking to approach them across their footprint. We'll start with a few introductions. We'll then go, obviously, of course, through those challenges, talk about the solutions themselves, and then go into a little bit more detail on points of the return of investment exercise and the business case that Iron Mountain has put together to obviously kind of get some of the first automations off the ground here in the UK. Before we start, I just wanted to kind of give Maria an opportunity to introduce Iron Mountain for those of you who obviously don't know that Iron Mountain is actually very, very well present now in the contract logistics space as well, and also herself. So Maria, maybe over to you to kind of tell us a little bit about the company.
Thank you, Anna. I think for the people that doesn't know me as well as you, Anna, Maria Torren-March, Warehousing and Logistics Strategy Director for Iron Mountain. And I joined the business nearly 2 years ago. And my job consists on formulating the strategy for the future success and to ensure that we achieve our very ambitious growth plans. But as well looking at having the right foundations for the business and to differentiate our services and to bring something new to the market and service customers better. So now I'll introduce the company. Very well-known company, has been established for over 70 years. Is really well known for its information and records management business. And is trusted by 240,000 customers around the world. But what people might not know so well is that the company a few years ago started to diversify the business and now offer different services from data centers to digital services, asset lifecycle management. And more recently, 3 years ago, we entered the warehousing and logistics services. We became a 3PL. And we are thriving in the contract management logistics sector. So on the next slide, it kind of shows our presence and a bit of what we do, specifically in the UK and Ireland. We have now 13 warehouses with a total space of 2.4 million square feet and capacity for 420,000 pallets. And we are focusing on some sectors, technology, because of our current, with our background, it kind of makes perfect sense. But also the FMCG, retail, and e-commerce verticals. And so that is a bit about us.
Thank you so much, Maria. And I think maybe just a quick one to touch on. You've kind of brought, let's say, the contract logistics space for Iron Mountain to the UK. Before we even dive into our topic, how did you find that? Just kind of pretty much starting something from scratch. It was Iron Mountain kind of presence on the document side in the UK that much. I think when I first kind of encountered the company, I didn't really know that much about it. And then obviously the journey that you guys have gone in just a couple of years is incredible. So congratulations on that. But yeah, if you want to share just a few thoughts on how that experience has been.
Yes, thank you. So I've been in the industry for 20 years. An industry that I loved because it keeps you at a pace and constantly innovating. It's a very competitive market. And it definitely, I love a challenge. So it definitely was a good challenge for me to join and almost with my colleagues to build a 3PL from the ground up. Of course, having a great support from a well-established corporate business, global business, has a lot of incentives. But yes, we kind of when you cross paths with people in the industry and they say Iron Mountain, sometimes they felt a bit confused about it. It's like, is this not the information management company? And now you are a 3PL. So yes, it has been a couple of years of raising awareness of what we do. But it has been really well received, especially by customers. We offer a different proposition than the traditional 3PLs. We have a very collaborative approach. And in fact, we collaborate strongly with other 3PLs as well. So the competitors become customers as well. So I think that we think that we bring something fresh and unique to the market and any way of doing things. But yes, it's been a good challenge, but very rewarding.
Thank you. And I think that the reason I kind of thought I'd touch on that is because in a way it mirrors a lot of like the journey that we had as a startup. Well, of course, like you said, you do kind of have a bigger name behind you, but every time you go into a new sector, it does feel sometimes that you start from scratch. And the one thing that I really appreciate in our collaboration, also seeing you in the market, is exactly what you're saying, that you do have a different approach to how you look at the market, and also how you work with your competitors as well as with your customers. And in my mind, I think that's one of the key points around the topic we're talking today about as well. Of course, you kind of have the same challenges as everyone else in the market. The overall economy globally is obviously suffering, and there's a lot of ups and downs. But I really appreciated kind of the innovative approach that you had to how you could kind of tackle all of those and obviously kind of thrive on the other side. So I just thought that's a good kind of caveat considering we're talking about innovation. I think maybe just to briefly touch on who Dexory is as well, for those of you who are hearing us for the first time. We are a robotics and AI company based in the UK, but with a presence now worldwide. We have a team of 160 extremely kind of talented and skilled engineers that build fully autonomous robots that work in warehouses to collect data and information. On the screen, you see some of our customers. Iron Mountain, of course, is going to feature very kind of heavily in there. And excited now to kind of take our solution across the US, across Europe, into the Middle East, and very soon Asia Pacific as well. And I think in line with my point earlier, yes, we've also kind of had a lot to do over the past 18 months since we brought the solution to market, establish our brand, and obviously kind of have trusted partners like Iron Mountain to believe in our solution, and obviously kind of give it a chance when it was very early days, but then of course kind of benefit from it as it grew. And very simply put, we'll talk a little bit more about this and also show how the solution works specifically in Iron Mountain as well. What you see in the middle of the screen is our autonomous robot that can go all the way up to about 15 meters in the air, scan warehouses top to bottom in one go, up to about 10,000 pallet locations an hour, and then digitize all the information that we see on the racks about the inventory, about the space occupancy, kind of the boxes and the quantities as well. Digitize all that into our digital twin platform, our software cloud-based solution, where of course our users can immediately compare that data with warehouse management system data and find any inventory accuracies. Only other thing I would say, and again in line with the theme today, it only takes 5 days to deploy the solution on site. We normally deliver the robot. Our team of 2 engineers come to the site, put it together, map the site, and then very, very quickly already start collecting that data, which again, compared to the manual way of doing inventory management or cycle counting, is a very, very fast process. So within the 5 days of kind of getting us on site, we already kind of provide the first views of exactly what our users have in their warehouse. And one of the reasons that this is very important to us is, again, mostly when people think about automation projects, they think about long timelines to install, long timelines to see benefits, whereas we try to kind of address that head on and make sure that we can provide that value very, very quickly. And I think to kind of take a step back then from the two companies and talk more about the industry. What we've done in preparation for this webinar is we've asked most of our customers and kind of experts in logistics that we work with day to day about what are they seeing that are some of the current challenges of running efficient warehouse operations as we speak. So you can kind of see them on the slide at the moment. And I thought we maybe start by having a very quick conversation about those and kind of asking you, Maria, from obviously your journey with our Mountain, but also like your great experience beforehand, like you said, it's over kind of 20 years in the space. Do you agree with the kind of points that have been picked on the slide? Yeah, do they resonate with you?
They definitely do, and there are not just challenges as providers. We must overcome them if we want to exist and to service our customers. Because I explained that this is a competitive industry, and the industry has changed in the recent years, and it's kind of shrinking. The number of players are diminishing. It's not a bad thing, because I think it's so competitive that we encourage each other to be better and to innovate. And these are very real challenges that any company faces. But you need to find ways to solve these problems.
Thank you. And I think that the word accuracy is featured a few times across the list. How important do you think accuracy is for the sector, and of course for our Mountain in general, and for you as obviously kind of like running a number of sites at the moment? And also, why do you think being accurate is so difficult?
So accuracy is incredibly important to run a warehouse efficiently, and also for the customers to run their businesses. It is difficult, especially in a very fast-pacing, moving warehouse with hundreds of pallets coming in and out every day, 24/7. You almost don't have time to catch up your breath. You have to maintain that accuracy at all times. And when it comes to Iron Mountain, the nature of our business and what we offer, and being that kind of different 3PL, we service customers by being very agile and strengthening their supply chain. And we offer short-term contracts, long-term contracts, project work, overflow, the replenishment kind of models. And when you have that kind of diversity within the same space, and sometimes customers cannot provide forecasted volumes that accurately, or the information that they provide us with the stock that we're receiving is not there. It really helps to make sure that you have very high level of accuracy. Otherwise, you will experience delays in orders, and the customers will suffer.
And I think you touched on a very interesting point there, because similarly from our work together, you have usually quite a lot of different customers within your warehouse spaces. And I mean, yeah, obviously people have different kind of models, especially in the 3PL world. Probably it might be a little bit easier to navigate if there is just one customer, which again has very kind of nailed processes. But from your perspective, you can have probably even up to 4 or 5, maybe even more different processing customers, or?
Yes, we do. We have a mixture. We have warehouses that might be dedicated or just have a couple of customers, but others, especially in the e-commerce, more specialized warehouse, we have many different clients, and we know all how difficult it is to forecast. So then we need to react very quickly to any changes and make sure that our service is consistent. So you cannot afford having inaccurate stock. You cannot afford to go to a location and that pallet that was there to be picked not being there. So that's why important to put methods in place to overcome those challenges.
Perfect. And I think outside of obviously the normal human errors that can appear, where because of the high volume and the high kind of velocity of the goods themselves, automatically like it will happen that people kind of put the wrong thing in the wrong location or pick the wrong thing. Do you find that, especially for these sites where we have multiple customers, different WMS systems or different systems that the customers have, are you finding it hard to also kind of stay on top of them? Or do you normally have a platform that unifies them?
So we use your platform, and that is how we overcome that challenge. So you have a space that is shared between customers, and you don't necessarily want to segregate too much with too rigidity, because you want to as well optimize the space and the racking layout and the warehouse. So to try to be really efficient and optimize the space, but also provide full visibility for us and for our customers. We use your platform. We found that that was the solution that we needed, that can communicate to any WMS systems that we have in the warehouse, whether they are our one for choice, or sometimes the customers will want to install their WMS, or sometimes we use another WMS that is very specialist for e-commerce, for example. But because we are sharing the same space, that platform gives us full visibility and making sure that we keep optimizing the space, especially because it's this fast-moving overflow, lack of forecast sometimes.
Thank you. And I didn't think you were gonna like jump straight into it, but thank you so much. That's perfect. Great to hear that. And maybe I think probably kind of related to that, a final kind of question about kind of these wider challenges. Similarly, because you've kind of set up the business in the UK from the ground up over the past couple of years. Was there anything else that you kind of thought about putting in place apart of from our collaboration, obviously, which was very, very early days, to try and kind of overcome some of these? And then yes, like, yeah, why do you think Dexory was part of that initial solution stack that you adopted, even from like before even opening the warehouses?
Yes, so to be fair, we were in a luxurious position. Not everybody can design something with a blank piece of page and start drawing the perfect strategy and approach to inventory management. But fortunately, we were at that in that position. We had no legacy that we needed to maintain or to adapt. So we went in with a fresh pair of eyes, and we were looking at how we were going to approach that. And we consider the traditional methods, but we know that those carry some problems. So I'm just talking about having a team of stock controllers, and you do cycle counting or perpetual inventory, and you check a sample of your warehouse, and then you kind of extrapolate that data, and you presume that is your kind of KPI for the whole of the warehouse. And we thought that those traditional methods involve very repetitive tasks that are not necessarily pleasant for the people that carry them, for our colleagues. They are also not very productive. You are checking for the sake of checking something that most of the time is correct. They give you this partial visibility that because you are sampling constantly. And if it's a fast-moving warehouse, it doesn't quite work well. And then it's a high level of resource involved on doing that in large warehouses. And we all know in the industry that we have a lack of labor availability. We have had these issues now for quite a few years. So we knew that was going to be problematic to kind of go to the market and recruit. And then we found Dexory. So one of your colleagues contacted us, and it's like, why not? Let's go and have a look at this. So a colleague and I went to visit your innovation center, and the minute that we start talking, we kind of fell in love with the technology and the potential. I saw so much potential. And I think that your colleagues were really gracious, and what was meant to be an hour meeting ended up being 2 hours, because I had more and more questions, and the more that I was discovering things and the extras that come with not just the scanning, but all of the analytics. It got me very excited. So yeah, I think that we end up being there 2 hours rather than one, but it all worked out really well, because we started working very rapidly after that first meeting.
Thank you so much for that. And yeah, indeed, and that's kind of, I think, what we really kind of appreciate again about kind of our collaboration so far. It's always been very, very open, kind of looking at ideations and trying to kind of overcome challenges. So thank you so much for that. I think we talked obviously quite a bit about what we do together. Let me see if we can make this video work on the webinar side. So our kind of viewers as well can see exactly what is happening in the warehouse. I think this is one of the case studies that we have together, and it's available on our website as well, and then on the YouTube channel. So if anyone wants to kind of see it in more detail, obviously kind of hear exactly what the colleagues are saying, please go and check it out there. But in essence, think as Maria was saying, the robots are on 3 warehouses now with Iron Mountain, looking to kind of grow that imminently. And every single day, the purpose is for them to go and do a wall-to-wall check of the entire warehouse, digitize all that space, check all the goods. So then the teams on site can use that platform to really kind of identify where things are, and then also kind of any errors and discrepancies that they might find. I think, yeah, you kind of already answered like what your first thoughts were when you saw the solution. But maybe if you could talk to us very, very briefly around how you put together the business case internally to kind of get this solution approved. Similarly, like you said, because it's quite early days and it was a blank piece of paper. So yeah, if you could touch on like maybe a few of the key kind of areas that you obviously kind of have to use to convince your finance teams to back the solution.
Yeah, absolutely. And as much as everybody loves a robot and a new shiny toy, at the end, it's all about numbers and making sure that those numbers make sense. So to be honest, it was a really easy project and ROI calculation. We could see, we compare basically how many people we would need to recruit and appoint to fulfill the inventory management activities in a warehouse, and compare with what this technology will bring us, and how we could kind of how that number of people will compare with this technology, and also the level of the people required. So it was a very straightforward calculation. We took into consideration, just to go into a bit more detail, we took consideration every time that an operator finds an error in the warehouse, because it happens, they're run by humans, not fully automated, and how long it takes to carry that investigation until you put the error, you rectify the error. And we could see that we will need a number of minutes per, we actually calculated 15 minutes to put something right. I think sometimes the industry calculates 20 minutes, but we were, quite conservative and to make our case, and it worked out like a no-brainer. It makes perfect sense. It had other benefits, not just the pure numbers. So when you talk about health and safety, about the benefits that bring to the customers, the credibility that brings to our business when we're talking about our approach and our innovation to customers. So yeah, it was easy.
Thank you so much, Maria. And I think that's a very kind of interesting point, because obviously you touched on two areas very quickly. One is, of course, the time that it would take to do the cycle counting anyway, and then the most important one is probably kind of the time that it takes to do those investigations. Have you also kind of thought about, obviously, if an error is there for a longer time, that it could have an impact on the picking, the putaways, even before it gets to an investigation? Is that something that either before in the business case or after, did you find that that's a value bucket that's an interesting one to look at? Obviously, kind of avoiding delays on the other processes in the warehouse as well.
Yes, because I think with the other comparisons, that how long it takes to do perpetual inventory, the old kind of traditional way with your RF handheld and going and checking. That's fine. You can go traditional, you can have a team of people, and you can check. And even if your accuracy is extremely high in the warehouse, you still will need to do those repetitive tasks. But for me, that was not the most important thing. If you are operating customers' operations that are not fast moving and you have the time to react, that's okay, because you can afford that luxury. It might not be very cost efficient, but you can afford it in terms of servicing those customers. But if other companies in the industry are like us, that are really agile, FMCG focus, you don't have that ability to you don't have that luxury. You have to pick that pallet, and that in less than 30 minutes you will have the driver at the door waiting for those pallets to be loaded. So you cannot afford errors. And we know that our customers have changed their behaviors. They don't have overstock any longer in the warehouse for the just in case. So they are running a very lean operations and stocks. So we need to make sure that every pallet that we have in the warehouse is accounted for. And you don't have that luxuries, oh, that one is not there, let's pick another one. So yeah, it has helped us immensely. That was the bucket for me that make it the most important one.
Thank you. Thank you so much for going through that. And I just flipped the slides as you were talking, just to kind of give people a bit more time to read what we have on here. So what we've added is obviously kind of going back to those initial challenges that we identified, the ways in which we feel, and again, from our customers' feedback points as well, that having the DexoryView solution on site can support with that. So obviously there's a lot on there, but we circled a few that I think we actually already touched on already. And maybe the area that we haven't gone into too much detail, but you did briefly kind of mention that in the initial intro, Maria, was the space allocation and kind of being able to juggle that space for your customers. Do you find like that's something that you use? And then also, obviously, that's at a warehouse level is one thing, but then also as you kind of go higher up towards obviously your kind of level of leadership and your wider leadership team, how does that kind of level of information support you to make decisions?
Yes, so one thing that used to irritate some colleagues was me walking around the warehouse and pointing out the fresh air, as I call it. So the gaps that you can see between the pallet height and the next bin. And of course that if you have a long-term contract with the same sort of SKUs and profile, you of course can make racking modifications and optimize the area. But when you have customers that they don't know what is going to come to your warehouse next, and you don't have that information beforehand, you need to be able to make decisions quite quickly. And yes, there are functions like directed put away that can help you with that optimization. But for me, was having that visibility that Dexory give us in the platform, where you can see exactly the volume. It's no more manual mapping or joining different reports and spreadsheets to get you what you need. You have it all there in the platform. You have that digital twin, that full visibility of what you have. You can see the calculation, whether good choices are being made in the warehouse. If it gives you this historical data as well. So if you're not going to make decisions by the day in how to perhaps modify racking or optimize customers around the warehouse in the different zones. But if you see that trend happening, then you can react and you can have those conversations with customers. You can give them those insights and say, look, I can see that your pallets, you're giving us more pallets with that type. Is that going to continue? Can we make adjustments? So that has been giving us a lot of visibility and added a lot of value for us to optimize, to make the most of the space inside the warehouse.
Perfect. Maybe two quick follow-up questions from there. One would be, do you, just from the nature of the business, and probably I should know this by now, but do you also kind of decide which sites to move stock to based on that space availability? Is that something that you've kind of utilized the solution, kind of thinking about utilizing the solution for? As obviously kind of all the different sites are becoming kind of harder to keep track of that occupancy.
Yes, and I think it gives us as well visibility across sites, which is what you're referring. So we have customers that they might have a stock in one or more sites. Yeah. They might start with one site, but then they might have product in other sites, like overflow. And having that platform that gives you that full visibility, again, it helps you making those decisions and those choices. It's all about giving you data, but packaging the correct way to give you those insights and then be able to make those decisions and give visibility to customers as well to support with those decisions.
Thank you. And the second kind of question I had there was because obviously we talk a lot about your customers as well. How do you find that they kind of reacted to obviously kind of you first of all bringing like such an innovative solution early days into the site, but also obviously your focus on data and accuracy? Has that kind of impacted obviously your relationship with them, or have you found that as being useful?
No, Absolutely. I think all the customers that do business with us, they benefit from the solution. It's not an optional, it's not an add-on. They just benefit from the levels of accuracy that we achieve. So enhance that value proposition. And then potential customers as well, when they come and inquiry and they want to see what we do for what we could do for them, they get really attracted to the robot. They want to understand it more. You can see some shiny eyes and ideas. We had even had inquiries about could I just borrow your robot? Yeah, we will continue to talk to you, but could I borrow the robot for my incumbent? It's like it's not like, it doesn't work like that, but you can see how attractive that is for customers, and they can immediately see the value, that the same way that we did when we came and talked to you.
Thank you. And I mean, definitely please send them our way, because we will find some robots for them. Perfect. I think maybe to kind of wrap up a little bit, because I think kind of going back to those key return on investment points, kind of listed here again some of the things we discussed about already, and just simply some of the experience we have in the market. So normally, I mean, yeah, of course, customers kind of look at the time saved from actually doing inventory activities, but then that error reduction point is also very, very high, which then automatically leads to more productivity gains. And then just the overall improvements in kind of accuracy and hygiene of the warehouse. I think across all of those, we normally see customers have very kind of strong ROI buckets that we normally work together on to finalize a business case and kind of support our customers to get everything approved. And I think yeah, maybe from all this list, like, is there anything else you like to add, Maria, that you think we haven't touched on? Or also, as obviously kind of where you're expanding and we're expanding together, in terms of kind of next levels of approvals, as obviously your footprint is growing. Do you think there's anything else that we can look at together, or it's like, yeah, it's already a pretty kind of strong case for it?
I think that all of the main kind of buckets are covered there. On resource allocation is not just the people, is also the equipment. So we run, most of our warehouses are very narrow wall, 18 meters high buildings, and VNAs are a precious resource, VNA trucks. So you want to make sure that they are being productive when they run, doing activities that generate revenue, and not just a driver and a piece of equipment just going around and checking for the sake of checking that everything it's okay.
Yeah, and that's a very good point that we have obviously kind of not touched on before. So thanks so much for mentioning it. Maybe like a quick follow-up question on that. Normally, if somebody from the inventory team obviously kind of finds an issue or an error, would they need to kind of go and obviously kind of find a driver with a VNA? Because I assume because it's a VNA side, not everyone can just drive a VNA truck. So is that like also like a disruption in the day-to-day processes? And apart from the machinery used as well, is kind of finding someone who's available and get them off what they were doing before. And
yeah, exactly that. So for the routine checks, anyway, you are tying up that resource and that driver, because you need to check at the different levels. But when it comes to, that pallet that should be there is not there, or is the wrong pallet, it's not just the investigation that happened in the system with checking historical reports and the traditional way, or just checking around those locations. You will need a driver to go and or the stock controller will need to go and check, and then you are tying up that resource, and you are interrupting the operation, because that aisle shouldn't be occupied by a driver doing an investigation. It should just be running and picking pallets or putting away pallets. So yes, it is. This definitely saves us a lot of time. And if you are trying to find or locate a pallet, you can always go back to the digital platform and have a look at the pictures as well that give you insights about this is the pallet, or I can see that it's next there. So I don't need to do a full-on investigation. I can just quickly rectify. Sometimes you don't even need to go there. You can just systematically make the change and correct.
Thank you so much for that. I think we've covered a lot, so hopefully we get some questions and we can kind of come back on those and kind of deeper go a little bit deeper in some of the conversations points. But I just wanted to thank you so much, Maria, for obviously kind of sharing your insights, not just about our work together, but also how exciting it is to kind of set something up from the ground up, and obviously kind of thrive in it as you go. So thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you for having me. I love talking about innovation. So that's you made my day. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And thank you, everyone. We'll follow up with the answers, and there will also be a recording of the webinar available for you to kind of touch on later on if you happen to miss today's session.